Hello, welcome to Lives from the Tabletop. Today we talk about one of my favourite decks with one of my favourite people. However, there are some audio issues. I hopefully sorted them in post, but basically I recorded the inputs a bit differently to try something new and didn't realise I was recording the desktop audio, which got Anti's vocals on top of mine. So I tried to fix it, do apologise, and we'll have it back up to normal standard for the next episode. Enjoy. Oh, nice glasses, man. Looking sick.
Oh, yeah, I'm seeing red.
You do look like with those on. You do look like a bit of a Vitesse card. Lambach or something. You'd be Lambach.
Yeah, these actually are pretty similar to Lambach's ones.
Yeah. Which, incidentally, Lambach features in the deck I wanted to discuss today. So,
Mm.
so yeah, I figured because we both kicked some ass with it, we could talk about Goratrix.
Yeah, I think it's a good subject to talk about because, uh, first of all, I love the term high tower wall that some French dudes have
Yeah.
been like. Yeah, I like the whole idea of that, but as well, like I've been really thinking, like, what does it even mean? Like, how does it fare these days, and so on.
Yeah, yeah. Well, do you know what the name came from?
No.
No. Okay. Neither do I. I was kind of hoping you did. Maybe it comes from like an ivory tower or something. Like.
Yeah, same here. I'm also thinking about the book, the man in a high castle or something.
Oh yeah, yeah. Goratrix is one of my favorite vampires because of his special text, which is obviously what attracts us to him the most. Just that ability
Yes.
to strike steel two blood is it's pretty naughty. We've seen Banner Hakeem take the piss with it recently, but incidentally, that's where my deck concept started. I wanted to Magic of the Smith drums a Shippy Toe Tech to give him advanced celerity so that I could play it with Blair and Quicken Sight. Uh, I was pairing him with is it Lucas Holton, the guy who doesn't lock to block, or you can burn a blood to stop him
Yeah,
blocking. Yeah, I thought he was so tasty, so I thought like putting them together just seems brutal, but it was a bit too greedy, I think. So
I do like the idea,
yeah.
especially that drums part, like double the naughty, triple the action.
Mm. Yeah, it's just kind of funny. But because it was too greedy, I thought I'll look at. I don't want to reinvent the wheel here. I'm gonna look at what other people are doing and
Mm.
whose name should pop up, but yours when doing a search for it. So it was back in 2018. It's because it's a bit of an old hat deck. This like you brought up like how does it fare now? When's the last time you played it?
I'm pretty sure that tournament was the last time I played it.
All right.
Yeah, and it also was the first time I ever played it.
Wow. Okay.
It was just like I need to prove something to myself for being an old control player, like in MTG terms, and especially in MTG thing is it's kind of like being the 10-year-old me once again.
Yeah. Well, that's fair enough. I'm similar. I quite liked playing MTG control decks, and this is certainly the Vitesse equivalent to one. Like your list ran a couple of Pentex and an Art Revolt, which obviously are a little different now.
I need.
So I'm not like one to just steal this, but I like to see what they do, and I'm used to playing in my sort of local metagame, as they call it. There's not a lot of stealth. People tend to do +1 stealth actions, and that's it. Maybe
Yeah.
multiples of them, like Palagrande style decks, or the
Mhm.
Beat and Boon kind of thing, or just like general setup-y combo-y stuff.
Yeah, and like back in the day, like 2018, I was playing like well, that was my year of revolts, so to say. For example, I was playing this Kari Hyl's deck, which was 19 revolts, and then you had Nana and the Russian gangrel Talbot.
Hmm.
So like you had loads of those all the time, and it was pretty silly. The deck didn't even use Usher tablets like the good versions do, but I was somehow kind of obsessed with the thing. Like it super fun to just slam a convert to the table and play a revolt, and if you have a Parthenon, even better. Like just go nuts from turn one.
Yeah. Oh, definitely with the Parthenon as well. You can just kind of spam them out. Obviously, they're not quite as powerful now. They've been changed. At least, like back then, you could block them. You know, I mean, it affected them anyway. But if it was to affect just people with anarchs, you'd have still been able to block them going anarch with those 7 eagle sights.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And this version didn't play the trick of delaying tactics. Like that was one of my favorites. Like having 10 revolts on the table, and somebody goes and votes for them, and you're just like, no, delaying. Oh no, not again, not on your turn.
I presume you weren't doing much acting with Goratrix, like, because looking at the list, you've got. I mean, you've got the ankle cog. Obviously, you can make use of, but 9 cents the savage way. Uh, 3 read the wins. So Mikey discovered recently the fact that you can't unlock an attempt to block and then eagle sight, which
Yeah,
he was like quite shocked at. He's like, oh, right, so oops, because he wanted to play Eluding the Arms of Morpheus with the new Salubri. So
yeah, yeah. And
uh,
same with read with the wins. Doesn't it also say that you have to block?
yeah, yeah, exactly. So that was quite a shock and something aspiring wall players will definitely need to remember. But you've got the magic touch of Eyes of Argus. 7 of those bad boys. They are the best thing or spec.
Yeah,
It's awful.
yeah,
So
yeah.
good.
Yeah, yeah, it's just one of the best things ever. Like, even though the meta has changed quite drastically, being all anarchs and like organized resistance and so on, but still, I had this running joke back at the like back at the time, 2018. I was always saying that Auspex is the best discipline in the game.
Yeah,
And still, I feel that Auspex is the best discipline in the game. Like you presume that I didn't do a lot of acting because of my funny reaction package, but
yeah, yeah.
quite the opposite. I was just like, bleed, bleed, bleed. Nobody wants to block Goratrix,
Yeah,
especially when you go for like Ruins of Seorist first with the Magic of the Smith and so on.
yeah. The ruins. It's incredible. Let's deal with so many problems. Those little gangrels that want to poke you for 1 aggravated damage, and every time, just go over there, mate. See you later. And of course, the press to just whittle the extra beads down if you need to. It's pretty strong. And, but it was the reason I mentioned like I didn't have a lot of stealth in my meta game was I was kind of not doing well with wall outside of my local group. Uh, I was
Mhm.
still scared of self bleed decks while I was playing what I thought of a wall. But when I saw your deck running 47 reactions, I had to kind of reassess my own. And I realized that I was not running anywhere near enough reactions. So all my wall decks have changed drastically from me like looking at this deck list. So like
Okay.
my Zamishi wall, my Malk wall, they've all got a lot more reactions than they did. So like 40 is my minimum now. I'm now always like, okay, I've got 40. Is that enough? Whereas it used to be like 40, that's a lot. So so thanks for that. And I don't think anyone in my local group would thank you for it, but I will.
Yeah, but no, thanks to you, and like also uh, as a pointer, yeah, I don't know. I had this kind of thing when I was designing this version of the deck. Like a couple of my mates had already played it, of course. Goratrix being the superstar that he is, but still, like I remember thinking to myself, like how many reactions can I really jam into one deck?
Yeah.
And in the Swedish sense of building decks, like I like once again I come around the same subject. Like I just love to build decks so that I cut one essential part out of the deck kind of completely. And
Mm.
in this version, in this Goratrix decks, it means I play no action modifiers and I play hardly any combat cards. Like if I would change this to be better in this current meta, I would maybe add some like thaumaturgy prevents or something like that. But back in the day, it wasn't so necessary because like n- if one parts were bleeding you, they were just bleeding you. They weren't also threatening you to hit you for one act or something.
Yeah,
So it wasn't that necessary.
yeah. It's a fair point. I think that's the big difference right now. I feel like decks are a lot more combat orientated than they used to be, because with so much protein around, getting hit for one aggravated damage can be a lot. And that happened to me with this deck in UK Nationals this year, well last year, because I was on a bad run. I was on one transfer. My predator was playing um, Ministry Stealthblade. Got a bit of Crypt Acceleration. He got a bit. He played Club Illusion. He just got like three guys out before I got Goratrix out. He's bleeding for a load. So by the time I got Goratrix out, I'm like, okay, intercept, 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 intercept. He had a handful of stealth ready and waiting because he'd seen what I was playing. He goes, I deflect. Next one, intercept, 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 intercept. He's like, you caught me. I'm like, cool. He goes, Donnybrook, take some aggravated. I'm like, nothing I can do about that. I go to Torpor. He bleeds me out with the last two guys. Uh, just just a rough game. Uh, which
It
incidentally,
is,
you know,
and also, oh sorry,
no, go ahead, no, go ahead, go ahead.
no, I was just saying about the whole thing of like having the man in the high castle, like Goratrix walls
Yeah.
and maybe even Matasuntha walls, and I don't know, like all of the like Saulos and so on. Uh, the risk of losing your star is kind of hard and like rough these days because it can happen from like any three cap, any two cap,
Mm,
doesn't even matter. Like wrong block, wrong time might just mean that you're gone from the table,
yeah.
and with the fact that they are all like 10 or 11 caps, so you have to spend 2 or 3 turns depending on your acceleration to even have them on the table. You're already down quite a bit of pool because the bleed decks are just so fast these days.
Yeah. And let's not forget the threat of Pentex either. Like,
Yeah, true.
it's a brutal card. You stick that on your Goratrix, your Atasanta, you need some backup, which is where like a lot. I think this deck does struggle a little. Uh, Most of these sort of decks tend to have like super tiny weenies backing them up. But I think because you're a good mix of animalism and all specs, the cheapest guy you've got is Devin Bisley, uh, who's a 5. So it's not bad, but she doesn't compare to like Victoria and Zoe as a backup team, or VJ Vinod, something like that, which you'd run in a lot of other sort of wall deck.
This deck definitely needs a new blood. That I learned from you.
Yeah, yeah, New Blood in the absolute legend. I the same Nationals event. It was definitely the wrong choice for the day. The neck the round before that one, I was to the right of Weenie Dragon Breath rounds, which this deck does not do well against. But I managed to fight him off for quite a while by blocking with New Blood, and he didn't want to waste his Dragon Breath rounds and his Saturday Night Special on New Blood. So New Blood just stayed around. Next turn, block again. Next turn, block again.
The hero.
Yeah, New Blood, absolute legend. Yeah, and then when Garrix finally did get torpid, guess who done the rescue? So, so there are kind of ways to deal with it. I see like you've got Anar Convert in yours as well, so you could always bring that out against those sort of matches to support with rescues, which is always nice.
Yeah, yeah. I really like convert. like hmm, it filters through your crypt.
Yeah,
It doesn't cost that much, and like having wide view and converse both, you basically get to see all your vampires if you just go for it.
yeah.
And at the same time, like in this build you can really start with like converse first turn and into a revolt. So yeah.
No, totally agree. And yeah, just yeah, turn one convert, play a revolt, bleed at the edge. it's it's a good recovery for a normally wasted one transfer. You can't
Yeah,
convert
indeed.
two others.
It's a good investment for one pool.
Mm. There are quite a few like small differences in our build. I've got one less Magic of the Smith, but still as important a card. Oh yeah, that same match. My Magic of the Smith was for Ruins to avoid the hand dag, but it got the Stealth Blue played DI'd it. What are the, who
Oh,
expects a DI from a Predator Stealth Bleed? But it happened.
that's rough.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm a lot more like I think I'm more proactive with this style of deck because I just constantly bleed like all the time. I'm just bleed because like we're watching that video the stream of Clash of the Titans that Martin
Hmm.
Schumacher won with his Zamisi wall, and there's a couple of turns he didn't push in extra little bleeds, and it nearly cost them the game because his prey was just staying alive on that one. And I was thinking like if he'd have bled 3 turns ago for one more, you'd have him by now. Uh, and that's kind of what I'm always thinking. I'm just like that one adds up, so I'm always pushing in. So as a result, I've got a few. I've got 8 Eyes of Argus in that deck. That's only one more, but I've got a few on the Key Vive as well. You know, just to allow you to get that um, Eagle Sight in a bit more reliably. But I also um, really quite like scaring people when you sense the Savage Way to unlock and block, and then don't play any intercept, just so you're unlocked, so that you can play the other stuff later on. Or like, yeah, you can. I guess with your deck, you were probably doing that quite a lot, unlocking to block your prey, doing an undirected, and then
Yeah, there's
uh,
like
Cat's Guidance to read the
19
wizards
unlock
and stay
kind of
alive.
effects plus Mylon.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's kind of cool. And I pretty much use them for my ankle cock actions.
Yeah.
Like I said before, like nobody wants to block Goratrix, so uh, reaction cards in this kind of decks kind of do a double duty of like protecting you, but at the same time allowing you to use Enkilkog. And maybe that's one of the best things that you can do with these like high cap blocky decks.
Mm. Like one thing, one big difference it's done. It's well, it's only like one card basically, but it did feel big on the day. So the best support vampire ever for Goratrix is probably Omea, right? Prevents 1 damage each combat, so she's on the same strategy. You just hands for one, you take none, you're getting ahead like you are with Goratrix, which is brilliant. But you run the Gangrel Anti Tribune Master for her. Um, Talons of the Dead. Yeah. So it makes her hand strikes aggravated. But the reason I didn't end up running it was the uh, actions cost this vampire an additional blood. You can choose to burn it in the master phase though. But like we were just saying about how much I like to get that little bleed in. So the idea that I'd start grinding myself out on bleeds for one, I just didn't like. So I instead just put a cheeky one of Lambak in there, who you're cosplaying today. Uh, and I think he was great. One time I somehow didn't actually get Goratrix, but I got Lambak out, and because he's got all the same disciplines, I was still able to put the work in for long enough that like I could start building up and actually get Goratrix out, which is incredible. Managed to dig with my one off wider view.
Sounds awesome. And Lambak's like on his own is super good vampire. One of my favorites ever.
Yeah, and he does that important thing of being able to push past that 1 damage because he's got 2 strength. If they're like like a Maya, you can deal with most hand aggravated damage. So land back being able to go, it's two, makes a huge difference, I think. So
Yes, it does.
I totally recommend him in the build. Um, his vote power came in useful that game. I got him out as well, actually, because
Mm.
no one else in the deck can do a thing.
True.
Those delay tactics are pretty important. I put an Antediluvian Awakening in the list as well, to kind of make up for the fact that I can't get the Anot Revolt.
I like the idea a lot.
Yeah, it hits you for one, but I think because it's easy enough to get a vessel on Goratrix, you can just out survive it. You know. But one thing,
Maybe even Path of Lilith these days.
yeah, yeah, that would be quite good as well. I think I didn't go for it in the end because I wasn't really torping often because you just steal in the two. It's more of a subtle grind. But
Yeah, I
once
guess
you get the
it's
Ivory
more of
Bow,
like a Omoya build thingy, but like it's a possibility
yeah, I think definitely if
because
you
something
pull
has to
that.
be done for the fact that you really can't play revolts in this deck anymore. So there has to be alternative ousting methods.
I found it was quite good at just defending a Smiling Jack because you're stealing all that blood. It's fairly easy to grind down the right people with it, and you can kind of
Yeah,
threaten people as well if they come for your Jack, and you're like, listen, if you don't come for me Jack again, I'll just maneuver and not steal because I want you to survive the Jack. And
yeah,
that can kind of
yeah.
work trying to talk people into it that way, uh, because it becomes favourable because they know you're going to block them because you've got 47 reactions. Oh, I went to 49. Wow, I need to get one more in
Nice.
there. Yeah, I've got one less cog as well, so I'm a bit less I'm a bit less able to keep my vampire unlocked. Um, but yeah, so I think so. The combat package is basically Goratrix plus Carrion Crows with a Canine Horde in there to deal with someone else's Ivory Bow. But
Yeah, you really don't need that much more. Like maybe some Recomotums. Like if I would build this deck again, I would definitely play like from 2 to 3 Recomotums.
yeah, I think they'd be pretty good right now, especially against something like Banu where they're not going to be able to do that finishing strike. And if anyone blocks your hunt, you can just steal it back. So it's always quite nice to do. I did
Indeed.
I did find though, a lot of people think that the steal two blood means that he's always going to be full, but quite often when the game gets late, especially with Smile and Jack out, you find stealing that blood is actually a little difficult, uh, and especially against the combat ends decks too, with Earthmeld being quite prolific at the moment. So I found
That's very true.
having um, Carver's Meatpacking and the Rack and a hunting ground of some description just really helps go that extra distance and keeping your sustainability in the long term.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Uh, so matchups at the moment. Uh, I don't know if we've had any like breakdowns of the Atlantic Cup was pretty big. I don't know if we've seen all the top eight decks for that. Have you? Did you see?
Mm, mm, I don't know. I'm kind of mixed with. I have mixed feelings with the whole deck at the moment. Like I think it's possible to get some good games with it, but I'm kind of stuck on the whole revolt thingy. Like I think that Martin Schumacher had a good idea of a wall deck in his Clash of Titans thingy, and I think that the same principle could be used on this one, which is just play a lot of Rotrex. Like Goratrix can always magic of the Smith and Ivory Bow for itself because that actually like kind of solves long-term problems for you. And if I would put like the Bloody Talons in this deck also, I would definitely play some Rotrex, and I would also like maybe even go as far as like having 4 of them, because that lets like if you block something with Rotrex from your predator, you can really just not care any at all and just like push forwards,
Yeah.
and that's something that this deck might want to do. I'm not sure, but I would still play Rotrex like a lot of them.
Well, Rotrek would open up the possibility of cards like Fame, Dragonbound, Tension in the Ranks, things like that.
Mm,
So yeah, if you're worried about oust and power, things in Torpor are kind of the way combats are designed to get that extra bleed action. And just bleed them out with new blood. That's
indeed. I
makes it
send a sacrificial missile of convert to diablerize them. Like, oh, now it's dead. What a shame.
yeah.
I'll bring up another one.
I'll bring, yeah, I'll pay a bull for another guy. That's always quite fun, like doing stuff like that with convert. Really, just getting your money's worth of them.
Like that's why you're playing Montreal's in the deck. Like,
Yeah, free converts. Just Montreal and like 10 effective managements, and just keep getting a new convert every turn. Ah, so yeah, there's a few bad matchups out there at the moment.
Mhm.
Um, Bruges is a bad matchup for any wall deck. A mortal grapple and lots of potence. Bad news. Good news
Very.
is you do have access to maneuvers and ivory bow. So I guess I think like with this sort of thing, you got to build it for what you expect to go against. So if you're getting a lot of potence, you can obviously build around that. But generally, playing wall decks in a field of potence is a bad idea.
Yeah. Well. Yeah. I don't remember what easy it was, but I remember also having like this presentation kind of thingy where he's trying to explain to some players like why play combat decks at all. And his one of the main points was that if the game is cut down into rock paper scissors kind of thingy, uh, like it's a bit different now. Like if we're talking about like easy day twos meta, which is basically like people just want to stay alive and so on. It was different last year, but like historically, people used to play like more surviving decks instead of having the ousting power. Like no one is really playing like dem weenies or something like that on day two. Like, or if there were, that's at least like a surprise element. Well, but anyway, like on that matter, Otso's point was that okay, so if everybody is playing kinda walls, almost walls, he's gonna play a wall breaker, which is like big ass combat decks, and he got some pretty nice results following that methodology.
Cool. Yeah, combat decks absolutely destroy walls. So playing them in a field where you're expecting that, it seems like the way to go. The Gangrel deck, I think it depends on the build. Same with Banu Hakim. If they're like quite combat focused, I think you're going to be in trouble. Um, but if they're just like bleed you, you block them, they earthmeld, I don't think you care. And you can kind of block the things and disrupt them early. So as long as you don't get punted by a Donnybrook too early, you can. I think you've got a game. And same with Banu. If they're not running a bucket load of Hunter's Mark, you'll be okay. But even if they are, you're still able to steal a bit back. So they've got to keep working, and you can end up with some anyway. Um,
Mm.
so I don't think that's too bad either. It's a bit more resilient.
I saw a tournament where there was a Goratrix deck and a Banu deck sitting side by side, and the combat was just like absurd. Like it was silly. Like I still two. Well, I still two. Well, I still two. Like,
Yeah.
oh, please stop.
The first time I ever came against it, I was playing Matasuntha, bleeding into it, and it was so tedious. I was whittling them down, but the game ended up going to time, and I left them on like 3 beads. It was taken forever because it's like hit you for 3, steal 2. Hit you, so it's like I'm getting this 10 cap after 10 combats. It was a lot, and maneuvers and stuff involved, obviously as well. Just
Yeah, yeah. I just realized that this version that I'm looking at the moment from Goratrix deck doesn't actually even care about Donny Brooks that much. Like there's Guardian Angel and Kevlar West both. Like, hey,
mm.
that's something. Like,
exactly. You can build for the deck that you're expecting. It's just I think it's only really potent. That's a problem, but you can just put a lot more maneuvers in. Once you get the ruins out, you've got a lot more survivability.
Hmm.
So it's part why I like these decks, like the decks that you can kind of just go against people and you're not just dead. Like it might be a terrible place for you to be sitting, but you've still got a chance of doing all right if you play it smart enough.
And this decks like tend to play the long game anyway, so it doesn't matter that much. Like, you just have to find some allies to get rid of the combat deck, and
Yeah,
you're fine. Like
yeah,
basically anywhere playing wall decks, like the only thing that you have to care about is that you're gonna get two VPs and no one else will get two VPs.
yeah,
Like basically you can give away two VPs in the game, and it's fine. It's completely fine. Just don't give them to the same player.
yeah, yeah. Uh, I mean, maybe if you've already got one, you're going head to head, you might be all right. But yeah, generally, two people getting one VP makes the board a lot more even, and you're in a good position. And it's that's quite interesting because like Eagle Sight's obviously incredibly powerful for this method to make sure that the person doesn't get a second VP and to make sure the right person dies. Uh,
Hmm.
so quite often it's good as well if you've got like someone who's getting low. You might be like, oh crap, actually, if this one dies, then they get two, so you got to be careful with that.
Yeah, Eagle side is good. Like because uh, in my opinion, Eagle side is both aggressive and defensive tool. Like, uh, and it's even like a easily cycled card in most situations.
Mm.
Well, in this deck, it means that you need to have like Eyes of Arcus or the Quivivi or something like that.
Yeah,
But still, but the whole like thing of having the ability to block anyone, like people who haven't been playing walls tend to just be happy and block something like hey,
yeah.
but like with a little more
Oh, you cut out.
and player, like from doing any pressure to a set player, and then the set player has no pressure, and like we all know, the player with no pressure used tends to win the games.
Mm-hmm.
But because you have so many eagle sights in this deck, you can stop him also. You can just make sure that okay, I want somebody dead, so you have to think ahead a little bit and then
Exactly.
stop him also.
Yeah, definitely. And it's what's so powerful about it, as you said, you can just go, I'll attempt to block, and it can be a bleed against you that you can normally block anyway. Just I'll attempt to block, get the card out your hand. You don't need the intercept right now. It's gone, which is important. Like anyone who's played walls will know, you can if there's no stealth on the table, you've got a lot of dead cards coming. And you gave me some really good advice with that. Just before I won with this, actually, you told me about like Raven Spy not being that great. Oh no, sorry, it was I was gonna put Antonio. Is it there's a Zamisi with +1 intercept? I was gonna put him in,
Yeah.
and you were like, I don't think that's a good idea because he might stop you ever getting to play your intercept cards. And I was like, I'd never thought about that. And then I had it in my mind the next like on so the following Monday we're playing a game in the pub and I'm sitting there going, I'm really struggling to get rid of this intercept. Thank fuck I didn't put Antonio in. So thanks for the advice. That was really good. Made me really like change my mind on things because there's definitely been times where I've sat there with a Raven spy on a guy and you're like, right, I want to get the maneuver from my spirit's touch, but I'm already blocking it with the eagle sight with the Raven spy or whatever. Uh, Not that Raven spy is a bad card. I don't want to send that message out. It's obviously incredible, but it's playing them with the right against the right decks. Some decks you'll just discard it so that you can keep your reactions live, and that was some of the best advice I'd taken as a wall player. So thanks for that as well. So with Eagle Sight, there's it's incredibly powerful, and it's why. one of the few reasons I get really annoyed when people talk about the Gangrel Anarch deck and call it a wall, because that can't wall for shit. It has no table control at all. You can stop what's going on to the left and right here, but you can't interact anywhere on the board. And you don't have a reaction suite to match a wall deck. Like, I wouldn't play that and choose to be to the left of Malk 94. I just wouldn't. I would want to be 2 seats away from Malk 94. Whereas I think a deck's a wall deck when the stealth bleed deck sits down and next to you and you smile. If a stealth bleed deck's to your right and you're happy about it, you've got a wall deck. If you're not happy about it, it's probably a toolbox.
Yeah, indeed. Like, I don't know. It of course depends on the versions, but at least I feel like the more blocky, more bouncy Gangrel versions, they're very happy to have like something like unnamed sitting as their predator. Like they'll be bouncing that all the day and be very happy about it. But like
Ravnar.
put like yeah, yeah, but like put like some kind of I don't know, 4 to 6 cap kind of deck that bleeds for 5, so maybe new Ravnos or something.
Yeah, new
That
Ravnos,
that's
greedy
a bit
dementation.
more problematic.
Yeah, you wouldn't sit to the left of Ministry with that Gangrel deck and be happy about it. You might be okay, but you're kind of running the gauntlet. You know,
Yeah, yeah, indeed.
great toolbox deck though.
It is.
just
It
just
is.
not just not a wall. I think that probably wraps us up. Unless there's anything else you'd like to say about Goratrix.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I can tell a cool story about the Goratrix deck.
Oh, go ahead. Yeah. Everyone can tuck
uh,
themselves in, get ready for a bedtime story from Auntie. Uncle Anne's
yeah,
bedtime story.
I'm going to censor names from this story, but uh,
Just say it's about
during
Tommy. It's not, but just say it's Tommy.
it's always Tommy, you know that.
There's a little
Yeah.
story
So
about Tommy and Mikey.
during my first easy tournament ever, uh, I had rented a room with a friend, and I met this weird looking guy on the airport, and he comes to us and he's like, "Are you going to the Vetes tournament?" I'm like, "I've never seen this dude before. Who the hell is he? Why is he talking to us? What's going on?" Well, the guy ended up like getting getting an extra bed somehow to our hotel room and sleeping there. Like, yeah, sure, okay. And then he told us that, hey guys, I'm going to the GP finals in a couple of hours, and I'm playing Goratrix. Here's my deck, and he just goes and whoosh, puts the deck on some kind of table, and we start to like analyze the cards. Like, what's and this one? Are you sure you want to play this one? And so on, going through different kind of scenarios and like trying to meta the deck a bit. And then someone of us is like, "Hey, dude, it's the finals. Maybe you should put a life boon to the deck." And he's like, maybe there's a point." And long story short, uh, he ended up winning the GP finals with the said life boon.
Brilliant. Hope you got some credit for that.
Yeah, we're good friends these days, but that was the first time I met him.
What you probably don't know is that he walked around the airport asking 47 people before you if they were going to the Vites tournament.
Indeed, indeed.
Everyone's just like, oh, the what? He's like, yeah, the Vites tournament.
Yeah, yeah, don't you know?
Right, so old but gold Goratrix. I think it still stands up. I think it's a good archetype. I don't know how often you'll see it, but the fact that he's available on print and demand and Sense the Savage Way as Chewy reprints might boost his popularity a little.
Yeah, yeah. It's still a solid deck, and like it's one of those thing is that it used to be like simply tier one deck. Now it's maybe 1.5 or maybe even tier two.
Yeah,
I don't know, but still, it only needs like one good card to be super good again. Like the problems that it has aren't that major that you can't actually play it. Like if something weird happens and there's like a good new reaction that Goratrix can play, or a good new thaumaturgy combat deck, or anything like that, this deck will rise again. It's going to be great someday.
Hmm. I hope so. I think things will change as well. Like, we're not going to just have protean focused vampires forever. So we've got
Hmm.
Oblivion due soon. So that should shake things up. That's probably going to make things a bit more stealth focused again, in a different way to just having Donnybrook. Actual non-anarch vampires are due, so that'll be interesting. And we've got whatever's in the Camarilla anniversary set thing coming, 30th anniversary. I assume there'll be Camarilla stuff because it's
Tasty.
celebrating Jihad, which was Camarilla only. So
Very good point.
expecting to see some non-anarch stuff in that. And I think it'd be a nice. I think Black Chantry are probably waiting on opportunity to create some non-anarch cards as well. So I'm sure we'll see some
Yeah,
stuff in
I'm
that.
pretty sure at this time they're kind of happy to be like, "Whew, okay, that's done."
Yeah, definitely. So, well, thanks for joining us anyway. It's been a nice little chat. Uh, I'll still continue chatting to you in a minute, but I'm going to stop the recording. So,
Yep,
so thanks
gonna
very
take
much.
a piece of a cigarette, but I'll join you soon.
So.